She doesn't even go here.
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Hummel, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome to Not So Straight Nerds. I'm your host, Alicia.
And I'm your other host, Luke.
Yeah.
So, before we get into this episode, vibe check. How are the vibes?
I'm feeling good. We just recorded our Avengers Doomsday cast announcement video, and so I'm like, my brain's flowing. I'm ready to film another one, talk about some more like comic book stuff, mostly.
Yeah.
2 out of 3. So I'm excited. We got some posters on the wall to go with it. We're going to talk about Harley Quinn, kind of the whole, mainly the finale, but maybe like a
how we
little
feel
overview.
kind of about that season and the whole show overall.
Yeah.
Since we're just going to start her.
Since it's an animation, we have a poster of Coraline, animated movie, and then we're talking about Daredevil episodes 5 and 6. So we have Captain America for like a little Marvel tie-in, and then we have Clueless for our like
for our brother lovers out there.
And also there's 3 women on the poster, so
yeah, and they all slightly hate each other.
Oh,
they mostly hate each other.
It's
What you
actually
gonna
a
do?
pretty good tie-in for
Yeah,
White Lotus,
actually,
honestly.
Honestly, this is a pretty great poster selection.
And we
on our
didn't
part.
even buy these with the intention whatsoever of the 3 shows we were going to talk about, so just worked out.
That's really cool.
I'm excited. What about you? How do you feel?
The vibes are pretty good. We did that first episode today, so
Yep.
the juices are flowing, the ideas are moving.
The
I'm very
brain is
excited.
massaged and ready to go.
I'm very excited to continue talking about some of the shows that we've been seeing lately. We talked on a couple of them before, so we'll talk about the newest episodes and Harley Quinn.
I will say, so I want to try something since we're talking about 3 different shows: Harley Quinn, White Lotus, and Daredevil. I'm gonna try to remember to put the times in like the caption or comments or details or whatever of when we talk about each thing. We're gonna start and going in order. We're gonna do Harley Quinn, then White Lotus, then Daredevil. But I'm gonna try to put it in the comments in case you haven't seen the show, don't want to listen to it. You can skip forward or go back or whatever, and come back to it later when you have watched it.
Yep.
So don't feel the need to listen to the whole thing. We'll also try to remember to be like spoilers for Harley Quinn. Yep. But I mean, if we're talking about the section, that's kind of your warning if we forget to say it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, if I may start our conversation on Harley Quinn.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I would like to throw out just some non-spoiler ideas and conversations about the show overall in general. For those who might not have seen it, Harley Quinn, it's an animated adult series following Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
It mostly takes place in Gotham. This last season, they went to Metropolis for a change, which I think ultimately was really fun. Very different for the show.
Absolutely.
So it's a comedy, a little sitcom-y. It's really cool because it explores some of the more niche DC characters and some aspects that you don't always see. It makes fun of a bunch of the more well-known stuff.
Yeah.
And it's overall, I think, a really fun time and a really fun use of adult animation. Yeah,
it reminds me in some small parts of like X-Men 97, like some of the Spider-Man shows. It's just like another way to like, it doesn't necessarily have to affect the universe, and it doesn't. It's just its own thing, and it's good, and it's fun, and it's entertaining. Really fun. And I think sometimes that's refreshing. It's seeing characters in such a big world and universe where you don't feel like you have to have a bunch of homework. Sometimes that can be really nice, and you don't need homework to go into this. You don't have to know who Harley Quinn is. I think it could be fun if you watch the Suicide Squad movies. There's just 2. That's all you need. One's good, one's bad, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. You can just jump into the show and have a lot of fun with it.
Absolutely. I don't think you need to watch the movies. Jump into the show and have fun.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
So, season 5, at this point, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are a couple.
Yes.
They are, let's say, out of the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
And so they decide that they're tired of living the same boring, repetitive life in Gotham. They decide to go to Metropolis for a change, which even though it's city to city, it feels like
Very different
the kind of
vibes.
change where you're going from like your hometown to a city. And then
That's a good point.
I think that's interesting, even though they're leaving a city to go to another city. But it's
Yeah.
the glowing and flashy and super modern and chic designed.
It's almost like a
Metropolis
future
city.
world kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I agree. And they
And then you get to have, I don't remember if the other seasons did, but you get to have, which I guess these are spoilers. Maybe we should wait since we're still in the
hold on.
non-spoiler section.
So
I wanna
it brings
accidentally
back
spoil it.
some of the original ensemble members of the show, which is very nice to see them back.
Yeah.
And then you get to interact with some of the superhero, or not superhero, the Superman character realm, which is
Yeah.
also really interesting.
Of course, since you're in
and
Metropolis.
it's something new
so.
and fresh that the show hasn't done yet. So
That's what I was going to say. I just didn't want to
yes, they're in
specify
Metropolis.
the
You get to see the
characters.
people
I
who
mean,
live in
you kinda
Metropolis.
know, like, yeah.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think if you aren't sold on the pitch, you've been warned. We're going to talk about spoilers now.
Yes.
So now, specifically, the finale. How did you feel about that finale?
I have 4 pros and 1 con, and the con's not really a con. I loved the finale. I had a great time. First of all, Frankette is kind of like the baby of Poison Ivy. She's so cute. She curses, and it's adorable because she has like this baby voice. She's like, F you. And it's so adorable.
And it's
I
so
love
genuine.
that. Yes, it doesn't feel forced. Like, it's very comedic. You have those funny moments where Poison Ivy, she's like trapped in this thing and trying to get Frank out to help her out. She's like, I love you. And she's like, F you. It's so cute. I love Frankette. Yeah, the vibes were good. Superman finally shows up in the end. Thank goodness. It was a long time coming. They were
surprised
floating
we
around in space for a long time before he finally showed up. You're
I'm
like,
surprised we haven't seen him like flashes to what he's doing off in space all this time.
yeah.
Feels weird that he was hardly there in the first episode, and then we spend so much time in his city, the city with Superman.
We even have
We don't see
Lois.
him.
Lois is there.
I'm
up there
surprised
now.
even Lois took such a backseat this season.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. But he did finally show up and save the day. I also liked, if you got into the finale, you know what I'm talking about. Metropolis was not the only city that was trapped in a little globe. Other cities were too. I don't think we know it, other cities.
Well, because there are other space cities.
Yes. So the thing is, it felt like a very good ending if it needed to be, if they don't renew it. But there's also that storyline, a possibility of, it's like a perfect ending. We don't need to see them find those other cities, but if it renews, I'm down. You know, however many seasons they want to make, I will watch. And if this is the end, I think it was a good ending. Solid ending. And 5 seasons to an animated show. I mean, any show nowadays.
Especially this day and age.
Yeah, this day and age.
That's huge.
Yeah, so I'm satisfied and whatever they want to do. And then, of course, as always, Harley and Ivy. They're always very fun to watch. I love the 2 characters. They're just so interesting, and they're a great couple. Just so compelling to watch. They're great main characters. I'm very glad they led this show, and I'm glad they're a strong couple this season, and they really help each other. They have a lot less moments of, like, we're fighting, like, should we break up? It's more just, like, let's work through this. And that's great. I'm glad they've gotten to that point, and I'm happy for them. They're like a little family now. I love it. And there's a moment when they think they're about to die, and they're like, what do you want for dinner? And it's just, like, it's very cute. You're like, because you're like, I hope they don't actually die, but this is cute. I like the dialogue here.
Yeah, and Harley and Ivy in this show, what I think was so great was that the first 2 seasons do a lot of work to show that they're their own characters outside of this relationship, and
Yes.
they have their own. It
They're
does so
so
much
developed.
good character work, and then you bring them together, and then a lot of it switches to how do these 2 people work in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful. And it doesn't rush into this beautiful queer story. And I think it does the story a lot of justice.
I agree. And again, nowadays, for any couple, much less a queer couple, it's like, it doesn't happen very often where they're very developed. And so I'm very happy that they got the treatment they deserved. And I hope this is an example of, you need to do this more often.
Yeah, they take the time to put the work in,
Yes.
which I think really shows
Very
in
cool.
their dynamic.
I love it. And then my only con is, quote, that this might be the end. Sad face. That's it. I really didn't have any bad notes for the episode. I liked it. It was entertaining, and I think it's a good ending if it is, and it has an opportunity to continue if they renew it. So yeah.
Okay.
Look at me with all the ums
I was thinking that I was going to say
influencing
it.
me.
My bad.
It's his fault. Blame him.
I would say some pros I had for this episode, the finale episode. I really liked the way they sent Brainiac off.
Yeah.
The way he ultimately ended up embracing the mess and crashing the ship, and he was seeing his family.
The mess is the point.
The mess is the point. I think it's really sweet that he gets to kind of log off with his family next to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really nice. I've really enjoyed Brainiac this season. I think they've done a decent job at empathizing with him.
Yeah.
Which, considering, I think it's the most unique way that they've approached Brainiac, because typically in every other medium, he's unfeeling, he's robotic.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting to approach him differently here.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Harley's
enjoyed that.
mom was also funny with
Yes,
Brainiac.
Sharon was funny.
She's like, he's my last chance. And meanwhile, he's just having like a suicide crisis. He's like, the end of my life is here.
I feel like
And she's like, I love you. Marry me. I met
Sharon-
you today. Like,
Sharon being here feels like she was always meant to be here.
yeah, it was so funny.
And it feels interesting to do that 3 episodes before you end.
Mm-hmm.
Some other notes I have. They didn't all die. I really thought
Thank goodness.
that they were just going to end dying in space. And that was going to be the end of this 5-season show. I'm
Oof.
so glad they
So
did
good.
not.
Thank you, Superman.
I was very
you took
worried.
a hot minute, but you got there, and that's what matters.
And then I'm really happy that they had a really happy ending for the DC queer couple.
Yep.
I think
Emphasis on the.
the
So iconic.
there is no other queer couple, possibly I'd say even in possibly the superhero space, arguably Wiccan and Hulkling, but they were characters that were always kind of meant to come together. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy weren't always meant to be together, but a lot
Okay.
of writers over their history have made a lot of work to grow them like the show does, make them their own
Yeah.
separate characters and then bring them
Okay.
together.
I love that. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
So, and there's always been kind of a history of them having this close relationship, and then people expanding on that and making it go
Right.
into a queer love story over the time and escaping a horrible relationship and you know trying to look at how that
Where do we go from
changes.
there? Yeah.
So I think this show does a lot to really grow off of that history that they have together,
Yeah.
and it's nice to see that ultimately it ends really in a really loving and respectful life together.
Yeah.
It's-
Positive way, happy ending.
they put the work in to make
Yep.
it feel really authentic, which I
It
really
feels very,
love.
very satisfying.
Yeah.
Very happy. I loved it.
And also they're just kind of moms now.
I know, they're perfect.
that's-
I love that for
It's
them.
nice to see them take that next step. It's very cute.
Yes.
Some con, I guess the biggest con I have, and it's more just for the overall season, is that ultimately, even though it's the last season, and I will say I think it's better than the last season, is I don't think it gets to where season 1 and 2 were. I
Yeah.
think those were
Like, I didn't hear
moments.
anybody talk about
Like
this season at
those
all.
first 2 seasons, I think were you had to be there, and they were, and it was this revolutionary, maybe not revolutionary, but it was a really fun and I would say experimental thing that really became its own thing. And then I think a lot of other adult animation entered the space around that time as well, and I think at the time it did a lot to stand apart.
Yeah.
And I don't think season 5 got there to where those 2 seasons were. I think that's a really high mark to get to.
True.
But just, I think ultimately you're not ending on your higher note. And,
But
you
it's
know,
not a bad note.
it's not definitely not
Certainly-
a bad note.
Certainly worst final seasons for sure. So
I completely agree.
you know, it was solid. It was entertaining. It was happy. And I think there are worse things.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah. So we've talked about the characters here.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn. She ends, and she's still going to be a crazy therapist for all of the people who get their cities replaced.
She even has, there's that line of like, something like, dang, these people are going to be messed up. And they're like, good thing they have a therapist. And I thought that was fun. It's like, remember who she is. Like, at the end of the day, she's still a therapist. So
yeah, this show's done
cool.
really interesting work with highlighting her still using her doctorate. She's a doctor.
Yep, and that's really cool.
And she's going to keep using that. Poison Ivy. And Haley Cuoco, I think, does fun work with Harley Quinn. Lake Bell as Poison Ivy is inspired.
Yep.
I
agree.
I was excited to see she had a small role in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I knew her from this show, and I was so excited to see what she was going to do in that movie. So, hoping Lake Bell continues to do so much good work. And I hope, honestly, more voice work, because she does some great work. And I would say even this season, Poison Ivy's voice work, she goes through a lot of different emotional
just so Poison
roller
Ivy.
coasters.
Like, it's great, and she does a great job at it. She sounds like Poison Ivy, and she makes it her own, and it fits. She makes really good choices.
Yeah.
Just 10 out of 10, no notes.
And then
Yeah,
Brainiac, the mess is the point.
I did like that quote. I thought that was cool.
I thought it was funny that he was crazy and thought Coco was alive.
Yeah. I think it's a little funny the amount of times he said the mess is the point. You were like, okay, dude.
We get
and you're
the
like,
point.
You're like, Brainiac, they need your help. Pay attention. Lock in. And you're like, the mess is the point. And you're like, oh my God. But it's still a fun line. It was funny. I mean, he's an unserious character, so it fit.
It's funny. How did you feel about him talking to the audience a couple of times?
In the finale?
I mean, just kind of overall.
I mean, I've always liked fourth wall breaks. I'm like, okay. He is very... I feel like it fits his character, honestly.
I enjoyed
it.
I
didn't feel like it was like, whoa, why are you talking to me right now? Like, usually fourth wall breaks are cool because they feel... right? They feel like they fit, and they're fun little like, oh my gosh, you're talking to me. But then,
hey,
yeah, hey.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Can you imagine if people were watching you? But
is that how y'all feel when we finally end the episode and we're like, what are you watching? You're like, what?
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to talk to us. No, it's funny.
Our other villains for the season are Lena and Lex Luthor. I will say, I think it's a little silly to have them team up at the end of the last episode to immediately go back to hating each other in this episode.
I agree. I think that was undeveloped, and I would have liked to see more of them. I think their dynamic could have been cool, and it just wasn't explored to the extent that it could have been. But it was fun seeing them together and bickering like siblings. I would have...
It feels like there was more they could have done there if they just brought Lex in earlier.
I don't know. I guess I don't really have a problem. I wouldn't have minded seeing them work together first, but also, like, if they're both evil masterminds and they're both so, like, set in their ways, like, I get why they would just immediately bicker. I don't know. I don't care either way.
And then they killed Lex. Well, I guess not. Well, he's in Franket's stomach. So it feels like he's pretty out of the equation now.
They killed both of them.
They did kill both of them, but I think
sweet.
with Lex being
It was funny.
Lex Luthor, like one of the DC villains.
Yeah. But if the show's gonna end,
it's an
then,
interesting choice before it goes. If it were to go forward, if it ends,
that's true.
Then that's a pretty good. That's another solid point of showing. Okay, clearly they were expecting this to be done.
Well, and they could get out. I mean, if you don't see them dead, like, they can get out. Again, I feel like it was the perfect ending. You can get them out if you continue and you really want to, or you could just assume they died in their stomach, you know, in Franket's stomach. So
another thing I actually just thought of, Sharon is here, Harley Quinn's mom, and we've talked about how she's really fun. She really blends into the ensemble really well, and I put that she's very sitcom-y, which I think this show started out a lot more sitcom-y than it ends up getting in the later seasons. It kind of feels like she takes Do you remember the character Saul from the earlier seasons, the robot man on the scooter?
No.
Really, he turned
I'm
into
so
a car.
sorry. I really don't remember. I needed to
Was it
rewatch the first 4. I'm so sorry.
Cyborg, whatever. He's this old man who's part robot, and
Okay.
he's their landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
It kind of feels like she fills that space
Oh,
a little bit to me.
I liked her. Maybe I liked her because it was like a full circle moment of returning
That's not to say
that.
I didn't like her.
No, I know. I'm just saying maybe it was fun that she was like a full circle moment back to like the sitcom-y feel of the start of it. I don't know. Yeah, I would have liked to see her in more of the show, though. I agree. More of the spaces.
And then Clayface, King Shark, Bane, Batman, Lois, they kind of have their own thing, which ultimately doesn't amount to much
I
other
loved
than Bane.
Bruce in this. He's so like, like he's so like sad and depressed. It's just-
like me.
He's like, I just want to be loved. He's just funny. He's just a little guy. It's like a very different take. I mean, of course, Batman's always very like dark and depressed and all this stuff. But I don't know. It felt almost more lighthearted or comedic, which fits the show. But we don't really see in the other movies and the other versions of him. And so that was fun.
I don't know. I think I liked the show a lot better when it was Batman that constantly was guest starring instead of Bruce Wayne. I think that kept the show a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
And I think
The
some of the Bruce
party
Wayne stuff has
episode
been fine.
when it was like the murder mystery was fun though. I did like that dynamic.
I think he was
I
fun
think
there, but I can't get over them making Alfred a villain. I think that was kind of really dumb. That's one of the few things I would
That's
call
valid.
from this season a mistake.
Okay, that's valid. I guess I just liked everything else about the episode.
I agree. I think that's the only part where I was like, ooh, I'm taken out of this now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's valid.
But Nightwing coming back I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Some other things. Was Metropolis a good move? I'm so tired. A good move for this season.
I think it could have been, but I don't think it ended up being. I mean, I thought it was fine. I just think it had more potential. Like, again, you're saying we barely saw Superman. Why was that? We barely even saw Lois. So it's like, why are you moving here if you're not going to do more with the characters there? I think that's the problem.
That's
it's
what I
not
was going to say.
inherently the problem. It's just the lack of
If you're going to be in Metropolis,
potential.
give me the Superman stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Superman, especially with the My Adventures with Superman, that's fleshing out the Superman lore and environment so much. We've very recently seen there's so much you can put in the space and utilize there that this show kind of doesn't. They use Lena, who's not the Luthor that people remember. No. I think she's great in this season. I think she's a really fun energy. I think it could have been really interesting to maybe have a Luthor and Lena dynamic where Luthor's maybe he's the one who's dealing with Brainiac, she's the one dealing with the girls. Like if they maybe split that and there could be a fun dynamic and you could have other Superman villains in here. We don't see any. Maybe you could have used Bizarro, Parasite.
I don't know.
More of his rogues gallery. It just feels like they usually are pretty good at adding more characters.
Yeah. Wasted potential.
And even Lois took a lot of
it's
the
like
backseat, we
being
said.
in Gotham and not having Batman, except they did. So it worked. But then they didn't do that here. So, yeah, I agree.
We talked.
Kind of talked about the ensemble. Why don't you talk about Ivy?
Ivy's backstory. I really enjoyed seeing her fight with who, I forget his name, but the doctor who became Floronic Man.
That was a good episode.
I really enjoyed seeing that backstory. Really fascinating for them to lock in that the dynamic between her and Frank is she's his mom, which I think has always been an element, but they really cement it there, and which makes it so much more heartbreaking when you see Frank die later in the season. And I actually gasped whenever they revealed that because I did not see that coming. I also totally fell for Lena blaming Brainiac, and then I rewatched it again with the friend I was watching it with, and then I was like, oh, she left right before that happened. It's gonna be her. Okay, good. I'm caught up. You didn't have to shock me with the reveal. So
I get it now.
Another thing I think this show did really great this season was the angry but in love part of Ivy being mad at Harley and clearly being like, you did something wrong here to me, and we will eventually deal with that, but right now I need to be angry at you, and I don't need, and I need you not with me. Yeah. And then coming back at the end of that episode, whereas I will sometimes be angry with you, I will never not be in love with you. And I think that is, I think that's really healthy. That's a really healthy thing, and I think it's a really important thing to say. I think,
well, especially when people nowadays are so like, never go to bed angry, but sometimes you need to, and sometimes you need to go to separate beds and talk about it in the morning. Because if you try to talk about things through anger, a lot of times that's not going to work. And so it's okay to take a break. It's okay to cool down, because sometimes the fix for a lot of things, and the opening to have a healthy conversation about something that hurt you, is just cooling off and having those calmer emotions. Yeah. Some people need more time than others. Some people can be calm in the moment. And I think that's why some people have fights, is like, why don't you want to have this conversation? Because one person may be ready, the other person maybe not. But at the end of the day, as long as you still love each other and respect that sometimes you need time, then it's going to be fine. And I really, again, that's what I said earlier, was I really loved this healthy relationship of, even when we fight, we're going to work through it. And we still love each other through this. It's not like a, are we going to break up kind of moment. It was never that. It was always, I love you, we need to break, or like physical.
I need to go do this.
Yeah, I need to walk in another room or do this.
I need to go kill a robot receptionist.
Yeah. And
I love that part. Death of Frank, I don't think there's a whole lot to touch on. They really made that sad, and they brought in Frankette, which was adorable.
Yes. I don't think you put rank the seasons. I don't think I could, because I just don't remember enough of the individual seasons. But if you do, feel free to rank them. And for anyone listening, if you remember, put your ranking in the comments.
Oddly enough, I think the only one I can't super remember is what season 3 was about. I know that was the first season that they were, I think, officially together. But I remember the first season was with Joker, and then it ended with them thinking Joker was dead. Second season was in the mall, I think.
Couldn't tell you. I'm seriously like, I need to rewatch it.
It was season 2. But I know it ended with Kite Man and Poison Ivy breaking up, and then they were officially together.
I feel like I remember that too. I don't know.
Man, I can't even do it anymore because I can't even remember all the differentiations from the season.
It's okay.
Still fun to watch in the moment, though.
Yes.
For sure.
Put your rankings in the comments if you remember.
But then season 4 was like the girls' trip to Themyscira, and I remember they had the Valentine's special, and Clayface was in Vegas. The earlier seasons were a bit more developed. Season 3 might have been the Deadland, whenever Gotham was like broken up into 5 different factions from different villains. I think that might have been season 3. That was either season 3 or season 2.
Well,
live and let learn. But, and then Kite Man. Kite Man had his own show last year.
Oh, I didn't watch it. Did you watch it?
I did watch it.
Okay, you can talk about this. I have no thoughts.
My thought, you don't want to watch it.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I mean, it has some strong critic and audience scores, but I think it's just...
No, I mean, so did The Penguin, and another one of our
hot takes. We didn't love The Penguin.
We didn't love it. It wasn't... I don't know.
It was really well made, which I can respect, but I think it's... I think it's not super...
And it has its moments and its characters.
I think the overall like story of it, we don't vibe with. And so it brings up a lot of the other issues we have, which are possibly a little more minor, but it kind of adds into our overall issue with the show. But that's a whole nother thing. But with Kite Man, it's a lot more sitcom-y. So like early Harley Quinn, Lex is the villain, and it... I don't know. It just feels too hard, like it's trying to be this show, and it's just not. And then the romance there is not Harley Quinn and Ivy, so it's hard for that to be a part. Golden Glider is the second main character, and she's interesting, but you know, who's gonna randomly click on a show called Kite Man in Golden Glider.
That's true.
And I think it doesn't give a good reason to.
Yeah.
So
That's some valid thoughts.
yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of trouble getting through that season, and I wouldn't anticipate a season 2.
Yeah, good to know I can watch many other shows before that one.
Oh, but you did miss. That's where Bane meets Goldilocks and adopts her with.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
think Golden Liner's mom from the past. There's some time travel a little bit, but Goldilocks comes out of the book. The Queen of Fables is in that show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
A little bit. She's one of the ensemble members, and she steals people's bodies because she's only a head. And it's some weird. They pick weird ensemble members in that show. But anyways, I just think it's worth saying that, in my opinion, even shows that try to be this show still aren't this show at its worst. Yeah. So I think that's something to keep in mind when we remember this show in the future.
And we are on our 31-minute mark, so we're gonna kind of hurry up. But the only last thing, we only have one more point, and that's that season 6 isn't greenlit yet, which we already said. And I think we're both okay either way, whether they continue it or they don't.
Yeah, I think ultimately I would like for this show to kind of end here unless they had a really great pitch for another idea. They already moved cities. I can't think of another city off the top of my head that would be great for them to move to, and they'd have so much more to do.
Unless
I think they've
the
done
whole
a lot.
season 6 would be jumping around, returning each city, so they're not at like one city. I don't know.
Maybe. It all depends on the pitch they sell us.
Exactly. Yeah. Either way.
So, but ultimately, I think that something like this is where I would like it to end. So if it does end here, I think perfect.
Yeah. All right. So White Lotus, episode 6. If you want to hear about our thoughts for episodes 1 through 5, we did that in the first episode. Can't remember if we started talking about that one.
I think that's the first one we talked about.
I think it is.
We had a lot to talk about after the full moon episode.
Yes. So yeah, go watch that one. Same with Daredevil. We're going to talk about episodes 5 and 6 after this. But if you want to hear about 1 through 4, we also talked about that in the first episode. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, episode 6.
So actually, we usually start with you giving your pros and cons. Do you mind if I take it this
Yes,
time?
we never have, so let's do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
It's because I copy and paste Alicia's pros cons because I don't want to retype it. So
this was another great episode for us.
Mm-hmm.
So much great stuff happening here, and a lot of the momentum from the last episode really moves forward here.
Mm-hmm.
So much is happening across every plot line. I would say the only one that kind of gets caught up and lags a little bit is Rick's, especially after having one of the moments to watch last week. You just really feel that one's slowing down a bit, but clearly it's about to pick up with a huge escalation next episode,
I think that was okay because like he had his moment last episode, he's probably gonna have another moment next episode, so I'm okay if him not having a moment this episode meant other stories did, because it paid off. It felt like this whole episode is a payoff for the full moon episode. So
and then there's some great character work. A lot of things happen. You see a lot of changes, I think, in characters, and a lot of you really follow what the characters are thinking and where they're getting their conclusions from. And I think it makes the stories really interesting with where they're going to go next. I also said the 3 friends finally hit a breaking point where there were always those cracks. They are crevices now.
Someone took a hammer.
It's so interesting to see them have these cracks, and now officially there is a breaking point where now this is what the group conversation is going to be about.
Yep.
And it's fascinating, especially the friend. I think her name was I don't have the names. Kate
Bob.
Was Bob.
Yeah.
Kate,
Bob.
her name is Kate. Kate mentions to Lori that Jocelyn slept with the person she was trying to get to hook up with her.
Very easily. Like, she doesn't have any hesitation. She's like, did you hear about this? No hesitation of like, what am I going to do with this information? She just straight up tells her. And then she's mad.
And she's so mad, but she can't admit that she's mad because then she admits that there's competition there. And then Jocelyn even gets on the phone with her husband that morning and talks to him as though that didn't happen.
Yep.
And then you see Jocelyn denying it.
Initially.
and
Which was weird. I mean,
Kate,
in her character,
and
but
I
also
loved
weird.
Kate's line of, I didn't think this was going to affect you so much. And it's like,
thing.
well, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah,
And I think that's so...
it was so perfect.
So
it was just
perfect.
Every decision, every line was so their character. It's like Lori being the one to be upset and start those cracks, but really it was Jacqueline's fault because of her actions. But then Kate was also like the bridge to tell
She was the one
Lori.
who lit the fuse.
Yes, so it's like it's so each character is their own, and
It's like the perfect setup,
mm-hmm.
and the fuse is lit now. So
Yep.
I'm really
It's
excited
opening
to
it
see
out.
what this show decides is the like explosion of this plot line.
It's crazy because like Kate was the one to gossip, but then she's mad that it's being brought up. So it's like, why'd you bring it up then?
She's like, no, I only brought that up when she doesn't get to hear.
I'm like, girl. And then Lori's so like, well, I'm not like you. Like, I just want to face this head on. Jacqueline's so
Which is
mad.
also rich because she's been in those conversations up until now.
Yes. And then Jacqueline's so like, you're being horrible because you're calling me out on my bad actions. Like, girl, you caused this. You knew that something was going to come of this. You can't be mad, except she is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so her.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
And then another great moment, which we thought was going to happen last episode. Two bros chilling in a
the
bed.
next bed, doing some stuff, even though they're related.
What you gonna do? I think that's been a long time coming. Certain people on Twitter are oh god. Anyways, so some people on Twitter, some people will hear what I accidentally did, but no.
Okay.
Whatever, we'll pass this.
I'm gonna listen back to this.
You
I'm
will, and
curious
you'll laugh
now.
because you'll hear it.
Okay.
But it was really interesting to see Saxton have to be in so much denial, because Denials was the name of the episode, and he was one of the. I guess everyone was a little bit in denial, but his was the most glaringly obvious because he kept being like, "That didn't happen," and then Chelsea
it shows he absolutely remembered it, and he's bothered by it, but then he's denying it to himself and to others, and Chelsea and Chloe are like, "Nuh-uh." Well, Chloe was like, "I saw that happen," and Chelsea's like,
Man,
"Oh,
I couldn't imagine sleeping with my brother.
yeah,
That's
nothing could
crazy.
happen for me to.
It's so
no
fun.
drug. I
And
could
then
be on no drug."
And then that's what gets him to go away for the first time ever. I think it's super
It's
interesting.
actually, they should keep that in their back pocket. Anytime
They
he's
will.
around there,
They
they're
will.
like, "Hey, remember that time that you did this with your brother?" He's gonna be like, "Well, anyways, I have to go." And you're like, "Yes."
And then because he's so weird towards his brother now, for pretty
Valid
understandable
reasons.
reasons, he goes over towards his sister because she has to now spend a night with the monks to prove that that is something she actually wants to do, and if she does that, she has her parents' blessing to stay there.
Yep.
And so now that his brother is not so enthusiastically trying to get him to be like him, he goes towards his sister.
Yep.
And I think it goes into that conversation of which sibling does he want to be like?
My
Who
comment
is
was that
he?
it's like the angel and devil on his shoulders,
Yes.
like Piper and Saxon.
And the devil
So,
decided
very
it
interesting.
needed some space.
So he's like, "Okay, I'll go to the angel then." And so, it's very interesting. Lachlan's a very interesting character too. I think he's the most subtle of the three. I
For
would
sure.
actually say, even more than Piper, because we know where Piper stands.
Yeah.
Lachlan's kind of a wild card here because he's undecided, and that's what's interesting about his character.
And then Piper, I really liked this episode, how she talked to the monk, and I think it showed a lot about where she is as a character. And I think it's really fascinating to see those conversations only with him. I think that's the most character we actually ever get from her so far, and I think she kills that scene. And now I think it's really funny that Lachlan is along for the ride on discovering who you are right after you have
They have this scene where they're like, think your most prominent thoughts, and he's thinking about what he did with his brother, and it's like, let it go.
Find the thoughts in your head. Say hello to them. And he's like, is anyone else seeing this stuff?
It's hilarious. It's Again, this whole episode is great character work.
Yeah. Another thing is the dad talks to the monk, and I think he is happy that Piper has a place to go after he possibly kills himself. I think he's still thinking about his options, but I think that's a very prominent one in his head, and I think ultimately he's glad that he knows there's a place Piper can go, that she wants to go, that didn't rely on his huge life. So I think that's why the conversation switches so rapidly to, hey, you're really wise. What happens when we die? And he says, like a wave that hits the rock, a drop of water goes into the air. And that's like a human being. And then eventually, after it's done rising, it starts falling down, and then it becomes one with the ocean again. And I think that is a very beautiful way to look at life. However, I don't think that's what you say to someone who's considering doing stuff like that.
He's basically like, death is great. It's just a part of life. That was not the time
that's really
to say
fascinating.
that.
We see him. Oh, and that's not even to talk about the first thing that happens this episode is we see him shoot himself in the head in the morning and get found by his wife and daughter. It's very dramatic. It's also just an idea. It's not real.
Yeah. I feel like I knew the second the daughter came in. I was like, no way, this is too dramatic. I was like, she's like, whoa, which is, I mean, what would happen? But I don't know. It was just one of those things where you're like, this is a dream. And it was. Yeah.
So, but I think
one of two.
Another part of that is that we see him have a conversation with his wife, and she says, I don't think I could ever be poor again. I think I'd rather die.
I don't think I would want to live.
So, and that is
I would want to live.
And that is leaning way more towards your theory that he's gonna kill the family and then himself.
Take him with him.
And then we see in the next
episode. At least some of them, but.
And then we see in the next episodes, like next on, Saxton says something along the lines of, I don't know what I'd do without my job. I'd probably just like want to die.
Yeah.
And so that it keeps leaning towards that idea. And now it actually has me scared that Piper's not going to like staying at the monk place for some reason. And she's going to say something
the one that lives.
I would feel so bad for her character because I think she's really sweet and trying to be different from everyone else. And she's clearly trying to put in the work to find purpose outside of wealth. And so I think it'd be really sad. I'd find it really sad if she ultimately couldn't find a future there.
Or even if she did, and then that meant the rest of her family's killed. I mean, that's...
To be fair, I think...
so sad.
That's going to be horrible, but I think I'd rather her be saved than join it.
Yeah.
And then she's in a community that is,
very
I think,
supportive.
very ready to support her and walk her through that, and is... I think there's a lot of wisdom around her there. So I think I think it's really fascinating, and I really am going to be really sad if she doesn't like it there.
Yeah.
Plot twist, Lachlan stays there.
Lachlan's the last one standing.
Other things quickly to get through. Guy Talk gets his gun eventually.
Finally.
So glad he finally did that. Gary's party. If you sleep with a rich man's wife, and he knows that, don't go to his party. I don't know why I have to say that.
Belinda.
And
if
Belinda?
you think he's going to kill you, why would you go? Why would you even consider? Zion, stop badly influencing your mom. You're like, maybe we should go. No. This man might want to kill your mother. Does he know that yet? No, she tells him the next episode.
Interesting.
I think there was a thing where it's like, I think she's like sitting by the pool telling him, I think.
Interesting.
I want to say that. I saw that.
Very interesting, very interesting. Hopefully she doesn't go.
Belinda, run!
And then I mentioned that Rick's part was slower, which is one of my two cons. My other con is I feel like so much happened to this episode. I kind of struggled to wrap my head around what two next episodes look like. It feels like this is leading up. I would imagine this is what it would lead up to a finale. So I'm really interested to see what that buffer is between this and the actual ending.
I disagree because I wrote down my thoughts of what I think is going to happen next episode, and none of it is like the finale.
Sure.
But it's okay. We'll get into it. That's why we have this podcast. Okay, so I have a lot of pros and only one. And really the only con was also Rick, so I'm not even going to read that.
Perfect.
And then a lot of the pros are the same too. I loved the opening. I think at first I wish it actually happened just because it would like really change what was happening in the show. But then once I realized they actually probably are doing the whole he's going to take his family with him storyline, I was like, okay, then no, like they're still developing this. And
let them cook.
Yeah, let them cook. So I do change that opinion now. So yeah,
growth.
And I did call that pretty a few episodes ago, I think. At least
Yeah,
2,
you
if
really
not 3.
did.
So.
And I was saying, you're crazy.
And then you hear Victoria be like, I don't think I'd want to live. And you went, oh, no. What have you done?
Don't prove her
What have you
right.
put in the universe, Alicia? I'm so sorry.
You and your manifesting for people to get killed by
I'm
their
so
father.
sorry. What?
It happens every time.
What do you mean? I did love Chelsea and Chloe completely silencing and gagging Saxon with the whole like, what do you mean you haven't had a threesome? You did with your brother. He was like,
Huh?
no, huh? Huh? It was great. I loved seeing the girlies do that to him. And then Guy Talk finally getting his gun back. Thank goodness. That does raise the question, where does the gun come from?
because now the dad still thinks the gun is there, so how could he actually do that and be the one who fires the gun in the finale?
Is it gonna be with the same gun? That would kind of feel stupid to me.
A
I feel
little
like
bit,
it
I
needs
agree.
to be a different one. But Rick also has a gun. So there's that.
I'm ready for a shootout.
I don't know. Especially if he doesn't use it on that guy. Like, it's absolutely... Again, Chekhov's gun, like...
But there's
if it's
multiple
there-
gunshots, too, so it could be any number of guns.
Yeah, that's so
And
true.
Chekhov's gun, I don't remember if I said this on the show, but Chekhov says if there is a gun in your story, even if it's in the background, it will go off.
Or really any weapon. Like when we were watching Charlie's Angels and there was an axe on the wall, you were like, that's going to be used, and it was. So, yeah.
Yep,
I
Chekhov's
agree.
gun.
So especially if we see Rick's gun and he doesn't use it, it's going to be used later, whether
I would
by
assume
him
so.
or somebody else. And then the women trio drama. Very interesting.
So juicy, so juicy.
I love it.
So, what do you... Clearly, you have some thoughts. What do you think is going to happen next episode?
Where did I put that? Okay, I have predictions for episode 7. Gary's party, I think, could be like half of the episode, honestly. There's a lot. We don't know what's going to happen at that party. We don't know who's going to go.
Hopefully not Belinda.
Oh my gosh, you know she's going to go, though. You just know she's going to go or something's going to happen there. And I don't know. It has a lot of potential, and there's a lot we don't know about it. And so it could be half of the episode. It could be most of the episode. I don't know. Then we also saw Rick finally has his confrontation, whether he shoots the guy or not. I don't know.
I'm gonna put my money on it. I don't think he's gonna kill him.
I don't think so either. I think there's too many people thinking he's going to, and even I think he thinks he's going to, even though he's denied it to Chelsea and Asian girl guy. he
Sam Rockwell.
denied it. He's
I don't
like,
remember
I
his
don't want you
character
to do
name.
that. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. I think there's too many things.
Yeah, and I
riding
think
on
he's
him doing
clearly
it, and I
put
don't know.
on this arc where he thinks he's this really horrible guy, and then the woman at the White Lotus is saying, I think you perceive yourself as a bad guy, therefore
So
you are a
true.
bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to forgive yourself and give yourself some space to just kind of escape that label.
That could be a really cool full circle like payoff moment for those therapy scenes, is him deciding.
I would love for him
Not
to
to
come
come.
back and unpack with her. I
Mhm.
feel like he has a lot to go through.
Absolutely, and I do think that he is going to have that confrontation, like yelling. I do think he's going to have that emotional confrontation, but I don't think he's going to. He might even point the gun at him. I don't know, but I don't think he's going to use it, personally. But we'll see. And then the fighting ring was also shown, and we know very little about that as well. And so all three things, I mean, the confrontation, I don't see. I mean, it could take long too. I mean, you have the whole like, when is he gonna finally admit you killed my father? Is he gonna have killed his father or not? Is he, so that could be long too. And then the fighting rink, we don't know much about that either. So that could be.
And they've been talking about that for a hot second.
Yeah.
So I feel like something has to happen there.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that's enough to fill up another episode though. And then you have the finale of everything coming to a head, and you have the shootout. So I do think that's, personally, I think that's enough for both episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see.
We shall. So lastly, who gonna die? Who gonna do it? What's your vote right now?
Oh gosh, I forgot who I said last. I think as far as people who are going to die, it's got to be at least Tim.
Okay.
At the very least, or someone in his family. Whether he takes his family with him or not,
Okay.
I think it's got to be at least one of them. And then I don't think Rick is going to kill anybody.
Okay.
Especially if he doesn't kill the main guy. And then I think Chelsea's safe. Chloe, I don't know. I don't really care either way, I guess. I mean, I would be sad, but like...
But she's not Chelsea.
No, that's true. I would be devastated if
I
it was
will be
Chelsea.
so upset if Chelsea does.
Chelsea, I think, is the only character I can say truly that I would be devastated if she's killed. Even Piper, I'm like, I would be sad.
I would be really sad, but there's definitely a... Belinda,
difference.
I'd also be really...
Yes,
I would be sad to see her die.
Absolutely, that's true. I don't...
Beyond that,
Beyond
unfortunately...
That? Oh, I think the three women are safe.
I think
as
they're
well.
safe. They
three
have their
women
own thing
and
going
Chelsea.
on. Ultimately, if they all live through this, it's going to be worse for them.
Yep. And then I also feel like Rick is safe. I don't know who would kill him, you know, unless he like happens to get in the way of something. Like I don't think anyone would be motivated.
Maybe that's his twist. Maybe in him trying to be good, he like steps in, and therefore he like takes a bullet for someone.
That's so true, especially if it's Chelsea. Oh, if someone. Oh no, I can see it. No,
what if you manifested?
No. No, because as I was saying that, I was like, I'm gonna be right. I'm gonna be right. Like it's one of those things.
No.
You're like, no. You're like, that's too perfect to not come true.
Oh gosh.
No. I'm sorry, Rick.
First you had it with the family thing.
I'm sorry.
Oh gosh.
I'm so
also,
sorry
I feel
to
like,
Piper and
I feel like
Rick.
Guy Talk is gonna kill someone. I feel like that's the twist because he's so sweet and he's trying so hard to be something else.
Either that or he's gonna get killed. And honestly, I don't care.
And I don't care which it is.
I don't care.
Yeah, I think he's unfortunately kind of a...
Yeah. And then I don't think Zion's gonna get killed.
Oh, no, we see that he's not killed.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
He's really, literally the only one we know is safe. For sure. Unless something happens after that. I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody else. I feel like I'm leaving
I think
someone
you covered
out.
most of them. I think...
What about you?
I think...
I don't know who's going to do it. I really
think
have
Guy
no
Talk
idea.
is definitely either going to be the one who kills or the one who gets killed.
Because there's multiple
I actually
gunshots.
really think...
So unless it's the family, I have no idea what character would
But then
shoot
Rick is bringing
multiple
back in
people.
a gun. So it could be back and forth.
And I also said at one moment, if the owner lady's husband is a killer, maybe he comes back.
Maybe he
and
comes
kills
back for
people?
Rick.
Yeah. And then he's a murderer, so you know why not kill multiple people if they get in his way?
I don't know. Who knows?
I feel like my money's either on Tim or the husband guy.
That's interesting. But now it feels like they're leaning so much into the husband. Same like Belinda.
Yeah.
It feels like, can it really be him?
I mean,
I
I
don't
guess
know. We'll
Tim
find
too, but at least Tim's would make more sense. We built to that,
Mm-hmm.
so it'd make more sense and be more. I don't know about satisfying, but like in character.
I actually
Yeah, the
think
husband they haven't
the
really.
way you-
I don't even know his name.
the way you wrote
so.
it out, I think Rick is probably one of our stronger contenders now.
To die.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's gonna happen where especially if he doesn't kill that guy, it's gonna happen where he's like, oh, I have to be the good person and defend Chelsea, and then he's gonna die. And I'm so sorry in advance if that comes true.
Or, here's an idea. Because there was that whole thing about Rick and Tim not getting along, what if he ends up taking a bullet for Tim?
For Tim?
For Tim.
Ooh, that would be a lot of character development, though, because that's someone he doesn't like, and he likes Chelsea. So that would be a big step up. I would have to be
I
convinced
just think it's
for
interesting
that.
because trying to think of
Or maybe
why that was... Because they keep
Tim
coming
kills
back to
him
that.
if he gets in the way.
Maybe.
I think Tim would be more than willing to do that, especially if he snaps. Why not? He already doesn't like the guy. Boom. Bow, bow, bow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting. I don't know if you can tell, but we're really enjoying watching White Lotus.
Absolutely. It's a great season.
If you've not jumped on this bandwagon, you got 2 more episodes left this season. And it is a blast. So we highly recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil.
Daredevil. Dun-dun-dun-dun. I don't know if that was right. It's okay.
2 episode drop this week.
Both? Okay, we were low-key, like, a little bit of haters, especially you, but also me for the 3rd and 4th episodes. We were kind of haters for the show, and these were great. Just if you want to know if we're going to be haters again, we're not.
Yeah, we love these episodes. I think these are the best episodes yet.
I had a lot of pros.
So
no cons for the first episode.
But there was a con in episode 5. Mr. Con. Because he's the bank manager.
Right. Was it Chris Wade? Right.
But I think can we agree that episode 5 was the best episode?
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is interesting because at the end of the day, it was a filler episode, but it was such a great one.
I think
I hate even calling it that.
I don't even think I would consider it a filler episode because it gets so to the core of what Daredevil and Matt Murdock are as a character.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge piece in him going. He puts on a mask. It's not the Daredevil mask.
Nope.
But it's the first time we've seen him put on a mask again.
It's that kind of thing where he's trying to convince himself so far in the show that just to step back and let the system work, essentially. Even if that means, you step up and be a lawyer, but then you step back and let the system go. And now it's like he hears these people are going into the bank. And he immediately turns around. He tells the person he's on the phone with to call 911, immediately turns around and goes to the bank and puts himself in danger. And that's so Daredevil.
And
that's
also,
so
he's
Matt.
Hilarious.
He
this
is.
Episode.
He is. He uses his blindness or like visible. That's kind of funny
blindness.
to say. Yeah. To other people, they don't know what he can do. He uses that really well in a comedic way, and I liked that. It was fun. And it's just so great that he can't help but put himself in danger to help people when presented the opportunity. Because, what are you going to do? Let the system handle this? No, they're in danger. They have guns pointed to them.
Yeah.
And you can do something about that. And he does. And I think that's so him. And I think that showed him a lot. He's like, especially in the next episode when, what's her name? Angela is in danger. He's like, okay, I'll be Daredevil to help you. And he doesn't even, I wouldn't say he hesitates. He immediately goes to that room, puts on the suit, goes to save her.
Yep.
And I think that's so perfect for him. And I think we had enough build up to that, even though it felt like an immediate decision. We'd seen that struggle, and at the end of the day, he's going to choose to save people.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Especially after being confronted with Punisher about not doing anything. He's like, okay, I'll do something.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to cry it out with the Punisher.
Exactly. Who doesn't want to cry it out with Frank? Maybe that's why Melissa, or what's her face, is that his girlfriend's name? No, that's not her name. What's her name?
I forget her name. Doctor lady.
I don't know, man. The therapist lady. She's very pretty. I don't know her name. I'm so sorry.
I'll pull up IMDb.
Maybe that's why she wants to have an interview with Punisher. She's like, maybe I just want
Maybe
to cry
I need
it out.
to cry out
Maybe
with him.
I need a therapy session with Punisher. And then not her also saying Daredevil, and he's just like, Dr.
Heather Glenn.
Heather, right.
Wish I was Heather.
Anyways, do you want to also do your pros first? Pros and cons
Sure,
again?
I'll go first. The pro of action. I loved the
Absolutely.
fighting. Some brutal action. The bottle
guy's
break on
leg.
the guy's eye, and then that jump on the leg. Ooh.
Which we saw in the trailer, so we knew it was coming. We were like, yes, this is the
Apparently,
scene where
some
he breaks his
people
leg.
didn't know that was going to be Matt in the hood. I don't.
Come on, be
Come on.
real.
It's a red. It's red.
It's red. It's not exactly subtle.
You see
it's
that
fine.
clean break? That was a Catholic boy.
He said, I learned this at Bible school.
Like the Irish. Ha!
It literally, he practiced his Irish accent.
Oh,
Also, want to
he
give a
ate
shout
with
out
that.
to Charlie Cox because he's British. He does an American accent for Matt Murdock.
Sure.
New York accent for Matt Murdock. And then in this episode, he does an Irish accent within the American accent. That takes, I mean, it's
Yeah.
quick, but that takes so much talent, and I want to know how long he worked on that, or if he just
That'd be
like
funny.
came up, maybe he was just, channeled the theater kid energy and just did it, A lot of those theater kids are like, here's my accent. Maybe he was just like, da-da-da. It was great.
I agree. Another thing I loved is how it highlighted his powers, even when he's Matt Murdock. I think I loved
I think
seeing
the whole show does a great job at that, but particularly this episode.
and it might be so cliche, but with the vault, so satisfying
perfect.
to watch.
Because it might be cliche, but we've never seen it before. So
And it actually feels crazy if we haven't seen that before. I'm wondering if we are forgetting something from the original.
But I've seen other people be surprised too and excited, so that makes me feel like either we're all in it together and forgetting, or it actually is new.
And then Mr. Khan. Loved seeing him again. I love seeing someone from Kamala's family again. There was some debate on
why it
his
needs to be
actor.
him, but
well, 'cause
I
the
did
thing
research
is
that today. I researched about
Okay.
his actor, and I researched about Namor's actor, because both of them have been accused of assault. I have
remember
not been
Namor.
able.
I heard that Namor was found not guilty, I believe.
Well,
Or there was something that ultimately was like, this is not.
with both of them, nothing ever really came of it. Namor's actor did respond and like completely deny it, and she kind of responded a little bit. She's like, well, because he was saying like they were in a relationship and it was consensual and happy and whatever, and she was saying, well, this thing that you did, like maybe it started consensual, but this thing that you did was not. And what she said, like, yeah, that would not be consensual. But then nothing ever came of it. No, as far as I could see on the internet, no like court case came out of it. No verdicts. So it's hard to talk about it in that case. It's different than like Jonathan Major, which like actually had some stuff come out about it.
And especially stuff that so clearly leans one direction.
With Jonathan
Jonathan
Majors.
Majors.
Yeah.
But I remember Kamala Khan stuff involved someone very young, which is why
Yes.
I was, because that came out, I think it was right after Miss Marvel. So then it was already really weird that he was going to be in the Marvels, but they already shot it. But now he's here.
This one was intentional, and I do think that's interesting. But yeah, it's just hard because nothing, as far as I saw, nothing ever came of it, and so it's hard to be like, they suck, because we just don't really know.
Sure.
I hope they're not true, obviously. And
Yeah,
if anything
absolutely.
ever does come of it, obviously I'm going to be on the victim's side. And it's not necessarily that I'm against them. I just don't know. I don't have the information here. And so it's hard for me to be like, he sucks. I don't want to talk about him because I don't really know what happened. I know what the claims were, and I don't know what to do with that. I'm sorry.
That being said,
I hope it's not true.
As far as performance this episode,
Solely like objectively performance-wise, nothing with the actor, just the character. I thought he was
it's a
great.
fun character.
I thought
and
he was
I think
hilarious
he fits
this
into this episode
Mm-hmm.
really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really nice to see him be so proud of his daughter.
He was
even though
so-
he can't admit that she's a superhero.
But he was so unsubtle about that. He was so like, I love my daughter Kamala, and she's in California with her friends. And look at Miss Marvel, our hero in New Jersey. And I was like, Mr. Khan, Matt's gonna know.
A blind man is seeing through this shit.
Matt's gonna know. And it was really funny when Matt was like, I can't see. It was like a Funko Pop that he was showing Matt of Miss Marvel, and he was like, yeah, I can't see it. Which, I mean, he could.
And then I thought it was really funny
But he
that
can't say that.
Mr. Khan didn't like apologize on that. He was like, oh.
Oh.
Anyways.
Well, he was like, oh, well, it's there. Here it is. That's actually, I think, exactly what he said. Oh, well, here it is. And then he did something again where it was like, yeah, I can't see that.
And then Matt Murdock's invited to the con dinner, which I'm sure we won't ever see. I would love to see it.
Just do it in a post-credit scene. Like the shawarma scene, just have it like, hey, and then that's it. Just some satisfying, like, oh, I'm glad they remembered that and acknowledged that.
I think that'd be really fun.
That's all it needs.
My next
30-second
pro
scene.
is the hostage debate scenes.
Yeah.
Those two actors of the detective and the hostage man on the phone, the hostage keeper, were
Overseer.
some of the best dialogue scenes this episode.
The dialogue was great this episode, absolutely.
I loved the power dynamic and him knowing exactly what she was going to say, her being really witty about it, and not like trying too hard witty. Like that dialogue was Whoever wrote that
I didn't feel like it was the
felt so
cliche.
great.
I'm a female detective and I know how to do my job and I know how to be witty. Like, I felt like it was actually kind of unique.
Yeah, it felt
real.
yeah.
Felt,
And like she's a really
I don't know what
interesting
the-
character, not just
yeah.
It was the actors and the screenwriters did that scene really well. And then I love the
Yeah.
joke scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
The
that
Irish joke.
It took me a second, but I burst out laughing
It was
when I
funny.
understood
Yeah.
what she was saying.
Yeah.
That was a really funny joke.
It's like, dang.
But so they killed it,
yeah.
and then his leg got broken in half. So
Bad
for
day
him.
for him. Yeah. Good for him. Bad day for him.
hey, if Matt Murdock wanted to do that to me, anyways.
I would say I'm sorry for my leg being in his way. Sorry.
Sorry, King.
You could break my leg anytime. Love you, King. Hey, can you represent me if I do?
Can you represent me against yourself?
Yeah, when I sue you.
Just
No,
so I
that
can
would be
lose
so
against
funny if someone didn't know and actually went to Matthew Murdock and were like, Daredevil broke my leg. I want to sue him. Can you help me?
That would be really funny, actually. I'm surprised that hasn't come up.
That actually is so true. Somebody said, I can't believe they haven't figured out that Daredevil is Matt Murdock based off the amount of times he has left his blood at the scene when, like, Muse
I
is
saw
punching
that.
him in episode 6 and the blood just squirts everywhere.
Yeah.
That is
That's a good
actually
point.
kind of a good point.
To be fair, he's never been charged, so it's not like they would have his DNA on file.
That is what someone said, and then another person said, hey, he goes back and cleans it up, obviously.
He goes, squeak, 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 squeak. Squeak, 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 squeak.
Yep.
Clean.
Oh, yep. He's like,
Exactly
I
like
think
that.
this is clean, but I can't quite tell.
He's like, perfectly clean.
He's like-
Meanwhile, it's
he's
like
like-
spread all over the place.
He's like, Karen, is this clean? He like FaceTimes her. Is this clean?
and it's facing him.
I'm so sorry. But if the show,
Is this
you know what?
offensive? Are we the problem now?
Maybe. But you know what? If the show can have fun with it, can't we? Okay, he's a fictional character. I would never say something about this in real life. And maybe if they were a superhero, maybe they would find it funny too.
Do you remember that
It's
one?
fine.
Have you seen that one Vine of the?
We're gonna get canceled before we get
the
started.
blind girl on like an interview, and the interviewer's like, "Is there anything you can't do?" And the girl says, "See." I don't
That's
know,
funny.
unrelated, but
Yeah.
that's really funny.
I think I do know what you're talking about.
Anyways,
You
my
know
last
what?
my last
Period.
pro is everything ? I think
Yeah.
it's just a really strong episode. It honestly, this episode feels like it could have come straight out of the original Netflix show.
And some people were saying that this is, I mean, it's kind of obvious. So you can tell this is where the rehaul happened, this episode right here. And I think that's a good argument.
does-
That's valid.
It does
It
a
feels
lot.
like it. Feels like the part where it goes in the better direction that
This-
made people greenlight it and sign on and Punisher come on and all of this stuff. Like,
This
can
episode
see
makes
that.
me way more excited to see the next couple episodes.
yes.
I'm
And next
actu-
episode was, 7, 8, and I think 9.
I think so.
Can
I
you
think
look that up
there's-
while I'm talking about my pros and stuff? We'll go back to your con though, because it really
Yeah.
is kind of like a pro. But my pros, I love that Kamala mentions her. She was name dropped like 3 or 4 times, and of course the dad and the Funko Pop, great. I also like that. Oh, did you find it?
Yes, there are going to be 9 episodes
Okay,
this
I was
season.
thinking it was 9.
Also, just because I see it right now, episode 5 was given an 8.2 score on IMDb.
Period.
Episode 6 was given a 9.
And you know what? Good for that show. Even though I feel like we both liked the 5th one better, the 6th one was also really
yeah,
good.
it's also really good. I would say that's the second best.
Good for this show. Okay. Oh, I also really liked, with Matt Murdock not being able to not help people. Same with Mr. Kwan. He literally lies about knowing the bank code just because he thinks they're going to shoot people if he doesn't give them the bank code. And so he's willing to essentially die to protect other people because Matt tells that he's lying and knows that he's lying, and it's like, you don't know the bank code, do you? And then he helps them so he doesn't die. But I thought that was a really nice touch. It's like you can see where Kamala got it from, which you could see in her show too. Her parents were so kind, but I thought that was really cool. I'm always a sucker for, like, you can't help put yourself in danger for other people kind of hero.
Yeah.
It's very basic, but it's just, it hits every time. And then I also loved the metaphors of, like, Matt going into the bank. I don't know if metaphor is the right word, but anyways. And him not being able to not help people. That's kind of moving his story along. Matt trying to threaten them with the law and it failing. He's trying to let the system work, and it doesn't. So he's trying to not lean into his Daredevil ways, but he kind of has to by the end. Mm-hmm. And then, of
Metaphors!
course... I don't know if that's the right word. I'm so sorry.
Tracks.
I'm not an English major. I'm sorry. Anyways. Finally, we got some action. It was a slow period there, which it really wasn't. I mean, the second episode had action, and the third and fourth one didn't. But... I don't know. You could,
Did
like...
the second episode have action? The first one did.
No, I know
At
the
the very
first one
beginning.
did. What even happened in this? Oh, no, the second episode. I don't know, man. I don't know. It was... Even if it was 3 episodes, in the grand scheme of things, that seems short. But when it's a 9-episode show, that's a third of it. Not having action when you're a comic book show. And I don't know. It's not like you need action, but I feel like they didn't fill it with enough interesting
Episode
things.
2, there was the scene with White Tiger on the subway station, and then there was
Right.
the end scene with
Yeah, I was
Matt fighting
thinking
the
it did.
cops.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking it had some action. So only 3 and 4. I don't know. I feel like you could really tell that it didn't have action, and so I'm glad it's back. I like the Irish accent. Like I said earlier, it was hilarious. I literally burst out laughing when he started talking like that.
Oh my gosh. You know what I just realized? On IMDb, episode 5 has the lowest episode score so far.
Really?
That is crazy.
That's kind of crazy to me. Especially, I mean, we're not, as far as I've seen online, everyone's kind of in agreement that those 2 episodes were great. So that's surprising to me. I mean, a lot of other people liked the third and fourth episodes.
It's
but
the least scoring episode and the most scoring episode.
Interesting. All right.
Very interesting.
We mentioned this earlier, but I think the show in general does a great job, especially this episode, at handling and expanding Matt's hearing abilities and how much he can do with that. So cool, especially the first episode when it changed, like, aspect ratios when he started hearing the stuff outside. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love that for my cat. She got her little toy. And then loved that the action was brutal. Matt said the F word. I forgot to write this down.
Oh my gosh.
Finally.
When does he say that? I don't think I caught that.
I didn't either, but I saw it on Twitter. That's why I didn't write it down.
Well,
'cause
now I
didn't
need to figure
realize
out where he says
I know. I think it's at some point probably before he fights someone where he's like, he says F it. That's what he says.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember when that... I feel like I can remember him
Maybe
saying
we
that.
didn't know and didn't tell because it's so natural to him. Even though he's never done it before.
Ugh.
It's
What
been a
kind
long
of
time
Catholic is he?
coming. I know. Gosh.
Lord.
Fake Catholic. Fake. And then, yeah, I loved that. Matt's going to have dinner with the cons. Whether we see it or not. I have no cons. It's literally empty.
I will say my con is where the heck was this energy for the rest of the show? Clearly, there's people who worked on this episode who clearly saw what worked so well for the first iteration of this show. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the spark of this episode is missing through the last couple of episodes. And clearly you can get there. Mm-hmm. So now the question is, what happened here that wasn't happening there, and how do we make sure this keeps moving forward? And it did.
Yeah,
it did go into
I think
episode
the
6.
answer is because of the reshoots and the rehaul of the show. I'll be interested to see if this happens in season 2, because theoretically it shouldn't. Because from here on, it should be smooth sailing, theoretically, because they've learned. The first 4, you can be like, okay, well, they were, making some adjustments, totally rewriting the script and all this stuff.
That's interesting. If the White Tiger plot was in the original iteration of this show, it's still what led into episode 6 with Angela being in Muse's lair. So
maybe they just kind of realized this is what we have. Let's do something better with it.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they were like, we can't do anything with, what's his name, Hector?
Hector.
Yeah. Let's do something with Angela. I don't know. That would be very interesting. They should do a documentary about it. Maybe they will. Sometimes they do it.
Sometimes, a lot of the times they do that behind the scenes with Marvel shows. I would love to watch this one.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Okay, let's move on to episode 6.
Episode 6. We broke into that one a little.
Yes.
Mine are a little faster. Do you mind if I go first again?
Yes. I have, oh my god, I have like 15 things.
She's the one who's watching the clock, so I'll go through my stuff and then you can look at when you need to stop. So, my pros, Fisk is back, Daredevil is back,
like
Muse
their
is
true
back,
natures.
so we're back.
Yep.
So I am in...
Cinema is back.
We've returned. We have never been more back.
Absolute cinema.
The levels of back we have achieved. I ain't no holla back girl, but I am back. Anyways, let me get off my soapbox. To see them both in their element again after trying not to be. Maybe it's why it feels so satisfying.
Because they're just
And
so meant to be.
Maybe
these
this episode wouldn't have hit so hard if we didn't have so many episodes that felt weird seeing them not do what we know they do. But it's very effective here in that side-by-side action sequence where they're both fighting.
Absolutely. It just cuts back and forth between their
just
fights.
Giving into their brutal and anger.
Yes. And then Daredevil, like, making the final decision to save Angela instead of landing the last blow on Muse, and then Fisk doing the opposite, which, to be fair, there wasn't really someone he was going to save, but he still had that choice. He still had that internal, like,
one thing,
I could do this or not.
So, Alicia, to end that conversation, do you think Adam is dead? Because I don't think he's dead.
I thought we saw him kill him, though.
Well, he dragged him back into the cell, and you don't do that with a dead body. I think he just beat the hell out of him, and was like, and we'll try this again another time.
But I think either way, I don't know. I don't really think I care. I think the whole point is, like, he got back into that violent state of mind, and you could see it on his face that he liked it. He liked it. He's like, dang, I crossed that line, but, like, it was so Fisk. And then the symbolism.
I think I'm really starting to, like, keep it a prisoner.
Yeah. And then the symbolism of his suit not fitting.
Yes.
And that representing, like, which I don't know if I love that it's using his weight to do that.
Well, because Kingpin is such a big character. If you have any doubt on the impact of that, look at Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and I think as long as they do it respectfully rather than whatever the heck they did with Thor.
Sure.
But I think... And I think they have so far.
I think the idea that he slimmed down for an election, I think that's very true to life.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think what's also really interesting, that I think it's... I've kind of drawn this connection, but I don't know how purposeful it was. So they make a point of seeing how little he eats when he's in his house or as mayor. And then the first time when we saw Adam in the jail cell, we see this huge meal on his plate.
That's
so
like
it's
the
literally
room.
showing the more that he's down here having these cheap meals with his prisoner, literally the bigger he gets to fill the suit of what Kingpin is. And I think that's actually really clever.
It's like I did notice that, but it didn't sink in as a thing. Yeah.
I think that's
interesting.
really clever. And it's interesting that I think it's not highlighted more.
Yeah. I also think that another factor could be just the stress of being mayor and people not loving him and totally believing him like they used to. I mean, he still got elected, which says a lot. But, like, that whole episode was a bunch of rich people being like, you suck, we don't care about you, we have power over you, bye-bye. And him being, like, speechless.
I think it's interesting to show the rich not on his side, considering so much of kind of what his character is.
Yeah,
I think
that was
it's
surprising
fascinating.
to me.
They wouldn't be like, "Oh, you're also rich and have blood money on your hand. Let's talk about that."
Right. I mean, I understand why. Oh, spoiler! Jack from Hawkeye, the sword guy, stepdad kind of guy. I understand why he didn't like him because his wife worked with him, and then his wife's in jail now.
Right. You know what? I completely forgot about that.
But I think, so I think that would make sense. But the other rich people, I was a little surprised that they were just so like, we want nothing to do with you. We have power over you. If you step out of line.
Poor.
Yeah. I was like, okay. They're like, you did this business for your own. I'm like, as if y'all don't. You don't pay
Meanwhile,
your
I
taxes
work
as if y'all
at the
do.
orphan chipper factory.
I'm like, whatever. But I guess, I don't know. Maybe that's accurate to rich people. I don't spend time around them, so I don't know, man.
I also think it's worth saying that Fisk had the best line this episode, which is, maybe when the sanitation department finds out there's a serial killer before the police department
before
does,
the NYPD,
then we need to start doing some changes.
And you know what?
And that line...
That was so funny, because he used to be in control of them, which I guess he is later on, part of them, at least in the later episode. But it's just so funny because it's so true. It's like a dig. And I love that. I loved that line.
Yeah,
that was a great
line.
line. I was like, you right.
Also, crazy that all of that white paint just had blood in it. I think that's...
It is crazy,
that's interesting.
though.
I'm sure that can happen.
That
He clearly didn't want people to know for a while.
Well, I think it's interesting, though, that he did shade the NYPD, and then now he's using some of them.
Well, now he's using his own task force.
Yeah.
Of the people that even the NYPD people are like, these are not the people you want on the streets. So it's like the ousted of.
Yeah. I guess all he cares about is that he wants people that will get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So some of my cons for this episode, like I said, I personally think episode 5 is better than 6.
Yeah.
I think episode 6 is still great. Here are some of the reasons that I think that it's a bit of a notch down. Is that we have Angela here, and her actress does a lot. I wasn't sure if this was the actress to kind of continue the White Tiger mantle. Now I'd be very interested to see her pick it up.
Yeah.
However, I think this would have been a great point for her to pick it up. You're just walking into the tunnels with your phone light on.
Did you figure out that she had the amulet or not?
I don't think she did.
Okay, I was about to say.
Or if she did, she wasn't wearing it on her neck.
Dude, if she had the amulet, it's useless, okay?
If she had the amulet and that still happened, bro, get a new amulet.
I hope she didn't, honestly. But in a way, it's like, why wouldn't you? Like, you're stupid if you didn't. So it's like kind of a lose-lose, but yeah.
And then I thought it was really funny, the scene where it's like, oh my gosh, are you Muse? Can we get a picture?
And then it's the shot straight out of the comics.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I think the art of their faces on the mural, I think that's also a really nice touch.
Yes.
And the bodies having their eyes torn out. Muse, you're inspired.
Ooh. Yeah.
Brutal. Very brutal.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see, because we've seen him without the mask already. So I'm really interested to see how
when they do it again
and how they do it again. I'm really interested to learn why he's doing what he's doing.
It's also so funny. We went to this art exhibit tonight. Why wasn't Muse there? And why was everyone a coward and didn't use human blood? That's what I want to know.
Did you see the sanitation department there?
That's so true.
But I also kind of now wonder who killed White Tiger.
Yeah, we got the confirmation from.
Because we know that that one officer didn't do it.
Yeah.
From that scene where he was point blank asking him.
But
now I'm trying to remember what it was that made me now question it, because
I don't know what would have made you question it.
Oh, what was it? Because something about this new division being the ones that are going after vigilantes. Oh, I actually can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But I feel like there was something that came up. The idea that now they're officially anti-vigilante, not the weird Punisher sect of cops that do their own thing. That feels like it's very different directions.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I don't know.
And then, and you're already tired of them.
And I'm already tired of them.
That's so valid.
Like, I don't need to see the faces of the people who track them. I kind of really hate it when content like this has recurring, like, henchmen that don't need to be recurring. And
Yeah.
it's like, you could be anyone, but seeing you over and over again makes this feel personal. And I'm not close enough to you to care if it's even personal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Stranger Things 3 is one of the things where I was like, we keep seeing the same guy, but we don't understand why he is so insistent on being the person at everything.
Yeah.
And it feels way personal when it doesn't need to feel personal. It feels weird that I keep seeing the same henchman over and over again.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm immediately going to feel the same way.
Hater of Billy.
Billy.
Hater of Billy.
Am I?
Isn't that his name?
I
Isn't that
have
who
no
you're
idea.
hating on? The
I-
Billy guy?
Billy Clubs.
I don't remember his
Billy
last name.
Clubs.
Anyways, it's fine. It's fine.
But-
So I'm gonna quickly go through mine,
Go ahead.
but it's okay. I have a lot. I'm so sorry.
And I didn't even mention it. I know you're first on your list. The Jack cameo, loved seeing him.
Yes. Well, that was my
He's
first
a lot
thing,
more
so-
serious here than he is.
Yeah.
Maybe his wife being in prison changed
Honestly,
him.
yeah, that would be valid.
But it was still interesting. His scene with Kingpin felt really interesting, knowing that he was the swordsman, that his
Yeah.
kid's a superhero, that his
Mhm.
wife worked with him now, that you reminded me of that.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see if he grows as a character here.
Yeah. I don't know. That'd be interesting. That was my first thing I was very excited he had a cameo. I liked his character. I also really I don't know what the critics were saying, that this had no religious themes. It certainly does. It already had one scene where he was standing outside of the church listening in and not going in, probably because he felt like he didn't deserve to go in. And then this episode he had a whole prayer scene with Foggy. So maybe it's not as heavy as the original show, but what do you mean there's no religious themes? You're just not. Get off your phone and watch the show.
Mm.
Anyways, I liked that scene. I thought that was really cool. And then it's very Matt. We got I like that Muse was the confirmed reason that people were going missing, because he's using them for his blood. 60 people? That's crazy that the NYPD
wild.
didn't even catch on to that. They knew there was missing people, but 60? Even in New York, that feels like a high number to me, especially since I'm assuming it's in a generally similar area. Small area, because I'd imagine we haven't seen him with a car. We've seen him drag a lot of people.
But he works out of a train station. What if he commutes?
I mean, I don't know. And then I did like the
He's
Angela.
just sitting on the train with like the person he's taking to his lair with like sunglasses on.
Yeah. Honestly, in New York, like that might work. People like ignore anything in New York, so unless there's blood dripping out of them,
Sir, I'm gonna need to see some tickets.
But people like get killed on the subway every now and then.
Oh, I saw Scream 6. I know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A true story documentary. No, but like really, like I don't know. Maybe it would work. I don't know. I also liked the conversation between Angela and Matt. I like that another person's calling him out for not doing anything, even if it feels a little like, how would you know that he could do anything? But I think I read that scene as more of, I'm just frustrated that nothing's being done, and you're the only one who's really helped Hector, so why aren't you still helping him? Yeah. I feel it could have been a little more clear, but it felt like an out of frustration kind of thing.
My thing is, I think that because right at the start of that scene, it makes a point to show that she's a really smart kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I think would have saved that scene for me? Vigilantes. Connect me with the vigilante that can help.
Yeah, and they say that in the episode. They have Heather say, vigilantes, connect me with some. So they could have done it again.
Yeah. I think that's an easy thing they could have done.
I liked Fisk calling out the NYPD. I liked
effective.
Jack calling out Fisk. The suit not fitting him. Matt becomes aware of Muse finally. Muse isn't becoming subtle anymore. It's kind of what you said with the faces in red, like literal red. He's not even trying to hide it anymore, and he's leaving the bodies there. He's done. I also like that it's at the exact same time. He stops being subtle when they figure him out, and I wonder if that's because he knows they know.
But that would be interesting, because they very much made a point of, we're not going to let people know this.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I don't know, man. And then Daredevil and Muse fight.
That was really fun.
That was so cool.
And
the way
the shot of
he came
him
out
running away from the
Yes.
red train light and then using the grapple
and you
hook
knew
to
he
come
was
up to
gonna
him.
be there. You're like, please.
Oh, and then that kick flip he did.
Yes. And I also liked Muse in that scene because he had some hands too. Okay. And then he did a lot of eye work. Like when he first sees Daredevil, like you could tell he's like, oh
well,
crap.
he's nothing but eyes.
Yeah, but a lot of other actors couldn't do anything with that.
Yeah,
As
some
we've
great
seen
eye acting.
recently, Snow White. I should clarify the evil queen. Anyways, but he didn't have that problem. He did really well with that. And then, like we said earlier, the parallel fight with Adam and Fisk going on at the same time, and the differences in how they handled that situation, and I thought that was really cool. Very Matt to choose to save Angela over Muse. You kind of knew he was going to, but I don't know. It's like you thought you killed Bullseye. You intended to kill Bullseye, and so it's like, are you going to take that step again or not? So yeah. I do think it's nice that he did take that step, and he can't go back from that. But at the end of the day, he's not dead. So there is a way to come back from that. I think, isn't it in season 3 when he thinks he does? No, that's more of a Punisher thing where he's like, oh my god, I killed these innocent girls. Yeah.
Season 2 of Punisher.
But that felt like it could have been a similar situation. I'm glad it's not. I'm glad that was just a Punisher thing. So yeah. Oh yeah, and then the only other thing we wanted to mention, this is not going to be in our title, but we want to give a shout out to Adolescence. We've only seen 3 episodes so far.
Of 4.
Of 4. It's so good so far. It's very popular, very highly rated. The kid is amazing.
The
he
main
just got
character kid, yeah.
I'm so sorry if I say these names wrong, but he just got casted as young Heathcliff in the Wuthering Heights adaptation, which a lot of people are not excited for, and I think from hearing their reasons, it's very valid. However, I very much look forward to him out acting Jacob Elordi.
Ooh.
Right? Like, I mean, if he can do what he does in a one take thing, imagine when he doesn't have to do one take.
Adolescence, for those who don't know, it's a show on Netflix.
Yep.
It's a limited series. I think it's going to be a very high award winner.
Honestly?
It's each episode, which is about an hour long, is a one shot. So
he
it's
might
the
win
same
an Emmy
shot
actually
for the entire hour long episode.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be I think critics are going to love this. Because audiences clearly do.
Yeah. 4 hour-long episodes, each episode one take. Or not one take, or one shot. And they do, multiple takes. But I think, actually, I read online the first episode, they used the second take. So, the others, they used, the 11th, 13th, 9th, something like that. Mm-hmm. But still, that's so impressive just to do it. I mean, even if you did the 100th take, it's like that Tobey Maguire thing when he catches all the things on the tray. I'm like, I don't care how many times you had to do that take.
The fact that you did it.
Cool as heck that you did it.
Uh-huh.
Without any cuts or VFX. That's really cool.
I agree.
So, yeah, that's how I feel times 10 for these episodes because it's a whole hour. So
yeah, so that's very...
And it keeps your attention. It transitions from place to place really well. Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, it's a really well-made show, but a very, simple concept.
Yeah.
So it's really well done.
I agree.
So highly recommend that,
mm-hmm.
especially if you're into, I would say, true crime or anything like that. It's right up. It would be right up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
But that
Very
being
cool.
said, I think
that's all
that's all we have to yap about today. So
yeah.
Awesome. So let us know what you think about these shows that we're watching. Anything you agree with, anything you disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen next on these shows? And what are you watching? We would love to know.
On White Lotus, who do you think's going to kill? Who do you think's going to be killed? Daredevil, do you think it's going to keep building in quality or at least maintain it? And what do you think is going to happen in the next 3 episodes? 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9? Yeah. 7, 8, 9. Ooh, we only have 2 more weeks of White Lotus and 3 of Daredevil. So.
And then what are we going to do? We'll find something.
And then it's going to be summertime and we're going to start getting into those movies.
No kidding.
But also with Daredevil, there's been a discussion of, do you think it needed to be the binge model like the original show? And is that why a lot of people really liked the first 2 episodes? And then same thing, 5 and 6 is because it's 2 instead of 1. I don't think it's a bad weekly show because I do think it's garnering discussion.
I think at its best, when it's at these stronger episodes, I think the binge model works really well. I'm really shocked that 5 and 6 were put together. I would have put 3 and 4 together.
Yeah, because I think they were the weaker episodes, so I think they needed each other. And then 5 and 6 probably could have stood alone and been fine.
But then again, apparently people just are not about that filler episode. At least people who want to put reviews down. I would have been happy if episode 5 and episode 6 were
online. I've seen nothing but positive reviews, but I have seen a lot of people calling it a filler. But then they're saying it's a really good one, so it's So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the whole thing should have been a binge? Do you think they should do like a Spider-Man thing where they do like 2 or 3 episodes each week? Or do you want it to be a true weekly? Because they still have season 2. It's coming out next year because they're filming right now. So what do you think they should do for season 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are you watching?
Yeah, what you watching?
What are we not watching? So.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe if you are not already. We'd appreciate it a lot. If you're listening on Spotify, please keep an eye out for any of our upcoming episodes. And please feel free to comment or maybe give us a review on if you like listening to us.
If you feel like it.
We'd appreciate you.
Thank you. Well,
so thank you. I've been Luke.
Yeah, I'm Alicia.
And thank you for listening to Not So Straight Nerds.